Did you manage to get a go at trying this new version thing?
The link that you sent over, yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying it's not quite right. Seemed
Nah.
seemed okay.
Okay. Well, let me show you what's wrong with it then.
Uh,
Okay, so the the issue the issue all along, I guess,
mm,
for literally months now, has been how to handle the concept of remote threads.
mm,
And so, what I've put in here um, is the first pass, knowing it's incorrect. We need to fiddle around with it and see how it's going to go. So the additions are that we've got this lozenge. You click it, takes you to the repo and GitHub, right? So that's
mm.
sort of useful. This one, you click it, and it opens up the thread that you're in as a remote thread, and this is where the issue lies.
Mm,
So this is your backchat thread. See the thread ID is DYP.
mm,
You have now opened this thread with the thread ID W6Y
mm.
is now the thread ID W6Y is now opened in a remote thread so that I can say something like hello, and you'll see that it pops up over here. Theoretically, did I? Well,
Hmm.
that is terribly embarrassing.
It's, that was working for me.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't do much with it. Um,
It's almost like I guess maybe it needs its first message in this initial thread because you can definitely
oh, you just need to kick it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll look into that.
Yeah. I usually do that anyway. First thing I would say is hi.
That's rude.
Mm.
Um, is that not working? Oh, that's very strange. Anyway, hmm. Well, found the bug myself instead of you, so that's all good. Right, the issue is that this is your this is your backchat thread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
It was it was passing through. Okay, I see what happened. It was going to the underlying thread. So this is the backchat thread. Every time you start a new tab, you get a new backchat thread.
Mm-hmm.
This this particular backchat thread has a remote thread set. So you can call that back by clicking on the remote thing.
Mm-hmm.
This thread here is this thread here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the backchat thread, so it's like the thread of last resort, the highest order thread. Like there's nothing above this. Um, but this remote thread thing is how I wanted to show you. Like you were asking to be able to fire up a thread in a sandbox
Yep.
and then be able to interact with it as though it was your primary thread.
Yeah.
And this is how I propose to do that. Um, the issue comes like first of all, this little button is a little bit annoying, but if you don't have see how there's no remote set here,
Hmm.
so there's no remote button. So like having a remote is an optional thing.
Yeah.
When you want to interact with the CRM, for example, you would say, you know, use the CRM, hit enter, then that remote button would pop up because this thread would go looking for um, what threads you might mean. It would find the hammer thread, and then it would connect to it remotely.
Yep. Yep.
But you can always bail out of that because if you're like Hal, help me, it will know that you mean to talk to the base thread and not the remote thread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the issue. I click on this, I bring it back.
Hmm.
I'm in the remote thread. What if the remote thread connects to a remote thread? And now I'm like, what do I do then? I got another button, and then I click that button and I get another modal, and now I'm like stacked.
Ooh, that could get too tricky to actually hold in your head pretty quickly,
Right.
can it?
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem. It doesn't seem illegal that a remote thread should have another remote thread. That doesn't seem like it should be forbidden. But I need a way to, first of all, indicate um, that it has it, and what does it mean to access a remote thread's remote thread? What does that mean?
Um, hmm.
Is that a problem?
It's not a big one. It's not one I've really thought about. So, you're working with how to build a system prompt,
Hmm.
run that system prompt, remote thread. Okay.
Yep.
Um, then it's you could ask if that system prompt had other threads. You could say, right, okay, run that one. I've not come across any situation that would need to do that. Um, there is a possibility, I guess, you could use it, but it would be something like a back button. So it's like you got this remote thread,
Mhm.
or just go back to your previous one. Because if you're
Yep.
stacking threads,
Oh,
and
okay.
there's only one remote thread that is being displayed per thread, right?
Yeah, because tell me if that assumption's wrong, but I just was like, it doesn't make sense to have more than one remote thread focused at a time. Yes, you can dance between them all, but what does it mean? Because the remote thread is really replacing your current thread. The thread underneath is still there and it's still intercepting calls, but um, like the message flow. Let's say I managed to get myself 5 threads deep.
Mm-hmm.
The message passing still goes into backchat, into the base thread, into the base thread's remote thread, into the remote thread's remote thread, into like it still flows like that because all of them need the chance to intercept.
Yeah, yeah. And having, is there a situation where you want a branching? I don't think there's a branching thread, so it's a one
No,
to
it
one.
doesn't seem to make sense.
No, and also it could, if you add branching, then you're talking about branching to branching, and then you're talking about how do you navigate, and it's like very quickly
So there's
gets hard to
another.
get on track.
Here's an option for us. Is these are called breadcrumbs.
Yeah, yeah,
So I could like in this remote thread, I could be like remote thread and then breadcrumb, breadcrumb, so that the stack is just here, and each time you click it in the breadcrumbs, it just rolls you back one up the stack.
yeah, which is different from back. So if you think about this, people are used to using browsers.
Mm.
You can use back. Now, say there's a web page with breadcrumbs, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then you jump, and it's like there's a stream of breadcrumbs, and then you go into the middle of it,
Yep. So I
and
click
then
on the middle of the breadcrumb
yeah,
list, right?
yeah,
Yep.
and then what you'd expect if you go back, not don't click on the breadcrumb list. You go back. You expect to go to the last thing you saw, which
Yes,
is
correct.
actually
Yep.
forward.
That's right. Yep.
Um, and so what that allows you to do is to jump around and then
Yep.
always go back. And if you want
Yep.
to navigate back, it's like back, 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 back. You'll eventually get to the top. Now that's convenience. The breadcrumb there is a convenience because how would you get if you were to if it's a linear set of breadcrumbs, you would just go this one, this one, this one, this one. So previous, 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 previous,
Mm-hmm.
as
And
opposed to your the back, which is a
right.
context
And
specific.
you could always go X, and that gets you back to your home thread or your base thread,
Yeah. Well,
right?
that is that's the important thing. Getting back to your base thread because then you can say, right, take me to
Yeah,
the
because
thread.
here I was imagining that you're like, I might say, start the start the remote thread browser widget, and that would let me see it in the stateboard as opposed to seeing it um, as the primary interface. That's really the conundrum, right? Is that I believe that you want and I want to be able to experience remote threads as though they were primary, right? This is a
Yeah.
primary experience here. Like you are not in the stateboard because
Yes.
this looks stupid if you nest it. You know, it looks like when someone shares a screen with their video call in the share, and you get this telescoping thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like it starts to look like that. So this way of displaying the remote is a way to break the telescoping effect, but you get this wrinkle, which is this nested breadcrumb thing can be a little cumbersome.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess now that I speak to you about it, it doesn't. It sounds like that is the devil. It's necessary, and breadcrumb solves it.
Yes. And also has a benefit that people know about breadcrumbs.
Okay,
Um, now, that means, what does breadcrumb mean in this case? Because breadcrumbs in the website are to do with the hierarchy, but we're talking about
folders.
the, is it folders or is it a bot creates a remote thread, and so your breadcrumb would be the bot that created the thread, slash the thing it created. Now you're in a new bot, create another thread, and so on is not necessarily hierarchical because at even in the new thread you could ask for any number of different threads.
Right.
So it's a kind of dynamic thread. It's not a static thread. It's not necessarily a hierarchy. It's a dynamic hierarchy based on what you've been
The
doing.
the hierarchy can be changed by the agents. Look, I can't think of a better. I can't think of any other way to give you that immersive experience when
Yeah,
you know, like otherwise you're just like, what are you doing?
yeah. Um, I think breadcrumbs would do it because,
All
again,
right.
we were saying yesterday, um, when you're on a task, you kind
Yep.
of have a mental model, and to some extent, we've offloaded into the human brain. It's like, right, where am I at with
Right.
this?
But okay, so see this name though.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you expect the name of? What is the name of a thread? How would I name a thread?
Well, that is an interesting question because it's definitely not that. Uh,
Yeah, but knowing what something isn't, um,
yeah. No, no. I was only saying that to give myself some time to think about this. Um,
a stalling tactic. Okay.
it's
Um,
stalling, stalling. Uh,
is it the
the most
topic?
obvious one, the most well, I was thinking it was the topic, but
Right.
the topic would be it would change quite a lot.
Yeah.
And when I remember saying that, I'm starting to think about the agents as anthropomorphized people.
Yeah,
Now
but if you're in a thread is a place where there's a collection of agents. So you need to name the thread based on the collection of the agents and what they're doing at that time.
that's right. That's a good question. I
It's
mean, you
it's
could,
weird, right?
yeah, you could generate a name, but the thing is, it's going to be generated each time.
You'd
Um,
lose the memory of what it was. Like it becomes
yeah,
meaningless if it changes often because the point of the breadcrumb is to help the human to navigate.
yeah, yeah. Um, so if you create a thread, a remote thread, and then remote thread, remote thread, remote thread,
Mm,
um, even though each thread can have multiple agents, um, at that level there is an agent that is controlling the thing. So, for example, if I were to jump into CRM,
mm,
I'm talking to the CRM. Now, that might throw off a remote thread to talk to the test. Now
right.
I know because I'm the one who's actually working with this. It's like CRM in this case is throwing off some
Yeah.
test, and I anthropomorphize test. It's like okay, so I'm going to talk to test now. I'm going to go back to CRM, test CRM. How? So it might just be the sufficient to use the agent name, even though
The agent name that was first chosen,
yeah. So the
as
first
opposed to
agent
the
that you talk
purpose
to,
of calling the agent.
yeah, yeah, because that would be the same as calling Sandra through from the other office and saying, right, we need to work on this problem.
Right. But then
Um,
yeah, you'd get a
it's
lot of
like,
threads named Sandra.
um, is there any embedded information in the hierarchy? There is,
Well,
but
yeah, they're
we're probably offloading too much into the human brain here, aren't we? Um, this is a really
and
gnarly one. This is
yeah,
interesting.
this is the problem. This is the problem. And so another option is that we could not have breadcrumbs, but we could flatten it. And so if I'm in a remote thread and I enter another remote thread, it effectively drops the remote thread and then in the base thread connects to the new remote thread. So that
Mm,
the base thread is sort of dancing between these arbitrarily nested remote threads.
no, I didn't get that. Can you go through that again, sorry?
So if I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
let's call this Sandra for lack of a better name, and
Mm-hmm.
then Sandra wants to call Robert,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a remote button here, and when I click it, it doesn't add Robert on as a child of Sandra. It closes Sandra, changes what the remote means to the base thread into Robert, and then reopens the remote thread as Robert.
Okay. Uh, that's more parsimonious, isn't it? Now, if you're talking, if you're trying to get a task done, you need Sandra and Robert to work on it. And you're in Sandra, and Sandra completes a piece of work and saying, pass that to Robert.
Hmm.
What would be the method of doing that, given what you just said?
Well, that seems fine. Passing data around is no problem. The problem is when you want to immerse yourself in that particular thread, and then the thread that you're immersed in wants to immerse you in another thread. It's sort of like if you're running a virtual machine and then you want to run another virtual
Yeah, it's like
machine.
an inception problem, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And
Uh,
so the two options are flatten it so that you always have to exit out and then come back in, or nest it with a breadcrumb style interface. When you have a breadcrumb style interface, now you have a naming issue because,
uh,
like, what are you,
yeah,
like,
because
even,
DP35XB, blah blah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not. It's not,
W6YVM2 isn't
you know, it's not
isn't
helpful.
really,
It's
nah.
not semantic. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So now, given that a solution is not obvious to us here, and given that I have had several months of wondering about this problem and haven't really got anywhere, what if I just pick a short word, like, how you have like a list of good, clean names to make random names from? Um, like, if I make a new project, it automatically makes me a. Look, I don't even know how to do it quickly, but it'll pick something like walrus, casino, custard. It'll pick from a bunch of words, right?
right.
I
Yeah.
could just name. I could just pick random words. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's better than
Um,
CJTC3.
well, actually, yeah. It's not too stupid because again, what we're really talking about is how much do you offload into the brain of the user
Yeah,
to know what the hell is Walrus about.
it's almost like maybe like deeply nesting your immersion is sort of, why would you really want to do that anyway?
Hmm.
You kind of only want to be immersed once.
Well, I think the immersion levels, unless you are really psychotic, we're probably talking at most 2, 3 if you're just because there's an explosion. There's a 2N on immersion, isn't there?
Mm,
And so we're never gonna, I think, ever want to go beyond 2, 3 levels. Now, let me think of an example of how would you go to 2 levels. If I were talking to a bot to create a bot
yeah,
that tests,
whose job was to
and
create other bots.
yep, uh, and it's like, okay, I want to. In fact, I did this to create the creator bot. I was using the creator bot to create bots, and very quickly ran into the rocks on this one because
Mm,
there was too much to handle in terms of moving information backwards and forwards. So what I'm saying about this one, I think the nesting isn't helpful. What is potentially help? I think probably no. Here's a thought.
mm,
You go to a remote. Now imagine you're the boss in the office
yep,
and you've got a whiteboard
yep,
and you're working on a task. Okay, so
okay,
that's the thing you're doing. It's like,
okay,
Sandra, get in here, do your thing.
yep,
And she just does your thing. I was like, right, Billy, come through, do your thing. All right, so now we've
yep.
got a remote back, remote back. Now, if Sandra, is there a situation where Sandra says, let's get, I don't know, Timothy, come in here to help me with this? Do I ever want to talk to Timothy? Very, very quickly, you run out of brain space. So it's like, and then if Timothy says, "Oh, I get Johnny in here," and infinite number of
Yeah, like
people, and it's like,
you,
I've lost
it,
control now.
it's right. It's almost like the reason why no company, like a flat hierarchy, never works. It may be presented like that in paper, but what happens is people cluster because
Yeah,
there's it's almost like a version of the Dunbar number that's even smaller when it comes to a working pack. Like you need
yeah,
almost like a little wolf pack of people these are the, you know, 2 or 3 people that you closely interact with in a day, and the rest of the org, whilst it is flat, you never really
Right.
interact with them.
And at an arbitrary level, what I'd expect in that whiteboard example is Sandra's an infinite number of other people that she can call on, and
Okay,
they go helpers all the way down.
okay.
But I just that's not. Uh,
The summons.
no, that's my alarm to be aware of a summons. That's what I was told to be ready for, but
Okay,
until I get a knock, I'm good.
okay.
Um, so in that situation, I would expect just to talk to Sandra. Sandra can talk all the way down, but do I ever want to do an end run around Sandra and saying, Sandra, you're shit?
Well, no, maybe, but the question we're trying to ask here is, do you want to act as Sandra and then act as Robert? Because what you can do is back at your base thread, back at your desk, you can choose to act as Robert directly.
Yeah,
It's the acting as Sandra, acting as Robert, acting as Stephanie. Those that kind of a dream within a dream is not really like, what are you doing at that point?
right, right,
What are you
right,
doing? You
and
should just go straight to the end thing if it really matters. Like that's not a you're not really using the system at that point. You just I don't know what you're doing, but
well, the thing that changes it is if we assume that there is a whiteboard, there's a task,
yeah.
and you go to Sandra, and it's like, Sandra, you're rubbish. I'm going to talk to Robert. Um, Robert is not nested inside of Sandra, but Robert is now also talking about the whiteboard because there's a thing that you're trying to do.
Hmm.
So there's a common place that there's the state of whatever task you're trying to create is there, and you can call in different agents at each time. Now, some might require further agents, and it would be helpful if you could ask, say, which other agents did you talk to with your last thing? But at any one point, you only want to be talking to one agent, I think.
No, that's the
Um,
thing. That well, you only want to be talking to one thread, is what this gives you.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so here's another metaphor then. When you use SSH and then you either use SU or you SSH into another machine,
Yeah.
you always get lost after about 3 machines deep,
Right. Really
right?
quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
really quickly. And you're
Yeah.
like, what was I doing again?
Yeah. And it's
And
like, where am I?
yeah,
And you go,
and
exit.
so
No, exit, exit, exit. Yeah.
SSH, how it gets around that is it only deals with the current thing, right? So I could give you this option that the cross gets you out to home thread or base thread
Mm-hmm.
immediately, right? I
Yeah.
could if you go remote from within a remote, I can just give you a back button, which will lift you out one. So instead of dealing with a breadcrumb UI
Yeah.
element,
Yeah.
which is confusing,
Yeah.
and we don't know
Um,
what to name the threads anyway, I'll just
yeah.
put in an
But
extra button that indicates that you've
yeah,
gone pretty deep, and here's how to go one level up.
that's right, and it's commensurate with how browsers work. You can go all over the place, and you go on this task, and I'm
Right.
now 7 deep. It's like,
Yeah, right.
goes
Like I have wandered
back, back,
through
back, back, back,
Wikipedia
back.
severely.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah, the Wikipedia runaround.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that'll be okay
All right.
because
Okay, I'll do that. So this is master exit. Cross is like master exit
yeah,
back to the base every time.
yep,
And
yep,
then this second thing will be like a back arrow, which is local exit, or and
yes,
it
and
just it
local
just
local expert takes you back to your wherever you were previously,
before and yeah,
whichever
yeah,
thread you're
yeah, yeah.
talking to.
And it's
Yeah,
your problem if you've ended up down that hierarchy. it's your
Yeah.
problem to click that button enough times to get you to any of the points you wanted to go.
Yeah.
But for example, if you were 10 levels deep, which in my mind is only for the insane,
Yeah.
then to get to any place in the hierarchy is only 5 clicks, because you could go exit to base and then up 5, or you could
Yeah.
go where you are now and back 5. And
Yeah.
so that's not a
Um,
bad
well, that
scaling property,
that
right?
um, that that begs a function, which is history. So
Yeah,
history.
history. So history was going to be in the browser, and it
Mhm.
was going to be a combination of where you were in the immersion stack, but also um, what you uh, did in the state board, I think.
Um, um, yeah, so that's pretty close. So the thing about history is, so you can go nesting in the websites, various websites, do the Wikipedia, run around, then go, oh shit, I really want to talk about Alexander the Great,
Hmm.
and I'm talking about, Henry V. Bring up the history, and you can jump back to that. Um, but that's the it's the kind of dynamic. Well,
Yeah.
history
So it,
is dynamic as opposed to structural.
I
It's
think
not.
that there's topics coming, and in a thread we should be constantly trying to batch things together as a topic. And in
Mhm.
my mind, back means previous topic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and if that information is available, then uh, on a tab. What I generally do now is look at all history and then go, oh, shit, I don't really know. Right there. Whereas what you could do if we make your top level HAL aware of the history, you just bail out and go, I was talking to Robert.
You
Take me
sort
back.
of I've tried to make the main thread aware of history by doing, see this function call. If I added a concept of a, this is a function call that looks like the assistant did it, but actually I did it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's there to say that I changed what the remote was, and I
Mm-hmm.
changed the remote to be this thing. And that, because it's in the assistant history, it's in the chat history as a tool call. I hope that the bots know
Ah, right.
about it. So
So for
it,
example, if you go up to your previous prompt that created that change
uh,
remote,
the change
uh,
well, the change remote was inserted because I clicked this button and it opened a new tab. And
okay, and on the action of opening a new tab,
mm,
that's fine. That's another thread. But does the previous thread know that you just opened a thread? And
no, no, the new thread, the new base thread knows that you just immersed yourself in a remote thread. That's what that
yes,
call was.
yeah, yeah. So I guess I'm saying is
I
if
think it works. I think it works.
and I think it's so if you're saying okay, right, and I want to test this thing, I'm going to click on the remote, and then there's a new tab. Now I've
Yep.
got pristine, happy, happy, happy.
Yep.
Um, if I go back to my previous tab
Yep.
um, and do other stuff,
Yep.
forget that I've ever had that tab.
Yep.
It should be able in that thread to say, right, take me back to the thread I was in when I did this.
You lost me. So
Um,
I'm trying to recreate what you're talking about here on the screen.
yeah. Okay, let's
All
try
right.
it.
So I'm here in the thread that I'm working in, and then I want to open this thread as a remote thread, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I click this button. It starts up a new base back chat.
yep, yep.
Oh,
Okay,
oh, I
so
can't. Yeah,
that's
just
yeah.
give a
That,
second.
so
Okay.
so that's a thing.
Yeah, and then
Now,
it did a pseudo assistant call as though the assistant itself called change remote. And now this thread is this thread, but opened remotely so that you can exit out of it and say, do something else, but then call up the remote and go back to being immersed in this thread.
ooh, right. That's yeah. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, right.
Crunchy.
Uh,
Okay, and
right.
now
Tim,
just because I
Tim,
can see you're about to just bombard me with a bunch of different like things, I'll add one
yeah.
more feature in here.
I've not done any. Well, I have done a few analogies, but I feel an
Yeah,
analogy coming up. Yeah.
yeah, I know. So I also added this link,
Mm-hmm.
which the idea is that it would open this thread at that commit so that you could share around a thread that was as it was at a commit instead of whatever it moved on to be.
That's lovely. So if I am I'm messing around with the bot,
Mm-hmm.
and then halfway around, it's like, oh, you got to see this. And you can share that commit,
Yeah.
and then I can continue messing on, and anything else I do
I don't know how.
after that.
Yeah, anything else you do won't be shown when you open it at that commit. But what I'm unclear about is what is the next action for someone who's now viewing that thing as a commit. Like, should they, if they go to type something, would it fork it and make it their own thread, or
So
what?
here's, yeah, no, it's not an
That's where it
analogy.
gets
It's an
messy.
example. An example. I use this. I use this quite a lot actually, because of the persistent URL thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you get a meeting bot, stick in transcript, and you ask a whole bunch of things, and they go, right, okay, you guys should look at this, and you send off the URL
Mm-hmm.
at the moment. Now,
Mm-hmm.
quite often, at the point of thinking you guys should look at this, then I go back and continue to mess with it. And
Yeah.
sometimes the stuff that I continue to mess with it is
Yeah.
not the point. You know, it's
Nah.
like,
But that's what they see first when they arrive, right? That's the
right,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So being able to, what to expect is when they see the commit, they can go and mess with it as well, and presumably they can send back their own commit. So
Mm.
it's a fork. So you've got a meeting bot.
Mm.
I've got to a point and saying, check this out, and
Well,
then we both continue.
maybe clicking on that is fork. You when you click that, it will fork the current thread at that commit in a
I
new
think
thread.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so when
yeah,
you share a fork, then it means that it first of all remains untouched from the point that you last clicked that button on,
yeah.
but also the incoming person can now do something with it.
Right,
And
right.
yeah,
Because in
yeah,
that
okay.
specific example,
All right, that works pretty good, I think.
if I continue to work and they continue to work, I wouldn't expect a merge because what does a merge mean? And the bot's going to
Well,
get, well,
yeah. So
you know,
that's a
you're talking about this and you're talking about that.
what you're asking for is another mechanism again. What you're really trying to share is a repository, and you're trying to share a repo that has a number of different threads all concurrently working on it for some common goal.
Right, right. But it's yes, insofar as when I share the URL or share the commit in this case,
Hmm.
I'm giving a snapshot of where I got to, which is not being updated by anything else I do, and my one is not being updated by anything the person I've shared that snapshot to.
Hmm.
However, either of us could then presumably click the commit and then say, "Hey, look what I've done,"
Right,
and come back.
right.
Uh, which is why I'm saying I don't think there's any need in that instance to merge back because what you've got is snapshots, not snapshots. So do what you want and share whenever you
Mm.
want.
Okay.
Back.
Well, look, I can. This type of thing can explode in complexity very quickly. I can see a very narrow feature that's easy to insert with the fork functionality. I'll put that in, and then we'll just
Cool.
play with it some more and see how we get to.
Yeah.
I will add this extra button here that is like the unwind
Yep.
button. I also realized that no matter how deeply nested you are, if I click this button, I can
Mm.
open this remote thread directly. So even if I was like 5 levels deep in Inception, if I click this, it would take me back to being 1 level deep.
Yes.
Yeah, which is not a bad
Yeah.
way to round out that. Like you can always collapse the immersion and go, I want to go back to only 1 level deep just by clicking that button.
Yeah. Now, what would also will be, I think, quite useful is um, you bail out up to the top and say, so
So bailouts are here.
start. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me rewind a bit. So start of the day, you bring up how, and
Hmm.
then you're going down, 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 back, 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 and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
But these threads are children of the start of the day how thread because
Well, the
this
way
is
I
where you
design the
were.
threads is that they're peers, not children. So when each thread, if I so I do actually have a function that works quite well that says
Mm-hmm.
start a new thread. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a new backchat thread, right? So watch the thread ID. The thread ID here is W6Y.
Uh-huh.
When I do that, start a new thread,
Oh, Dumbot. Oh dear, Dumbot. Come on, pick up the pace here, man.
it's correctly chose backchat, and
Yeah.
then see it created a brand new thread, thread ID
Mm-hmm.
T04,
Yep.
right? But thread ID W6Y is still available to be viewed remotely. But you can see here that the final action it took was the new thread signal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
Well, I
starting.
guess the very top level NL functionality should be very helpful.
Right.
Actually, I don't know whether it'd be. This is
That's the
really
thing, right?
early
It's
stuff.
so many
Um,
options of what you could do
yeah.
here, and it's like, which one is the right choice?
What would like to be now? Let here it comes. Analogy, right? A thread is a notebook. Um, so you go to one notebook and write stuff down. It's like,
Mm.
right, next one, next one, next one. The notebooks have some kind of hierarchy to them and so on.
Hmm.
You go back, and what would be good to say is, you show me my library of notebooks because I want to jump to one,
Yeah,
but
so
I,
that would show up here in your list of in it'll be sort of like a file browser, but it would show you all of your notebooks or all of your threads down here with some summaries, and you could talk about them. You would only want to be them under some circumstances. Now, primarily, you would want to be your notebook directly rather than being immersed in it like a
well,
remote.
well, yes. Well, there's two things you might want to write in the notebook, or you want to. Okay, analogy's falling down a bit. You might want to be in another book and saying, right, uh, there's a whole bunch of data in this other notebook.
Yeah,
I
you
want
want
to
to
talk
pull
to
that
you about
in.
it. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's all possible under this model. That works just fine.
yeah. It
This remote
does.
thing was intended to be for things like the CRM, where
Yeah,
you need to be doing action at a distance.
yes. Sandboxy stuff,
Mm.
which is basically a notebook you throw away when you're done.
Well, or someone else's notebook that they control it, but
Right.
you are accessing it with their permission.
Yeah. So it's good that it's possible because that would be really useful. Is if you get yourself lost in your thought, because even though it might be uh, essentially flat, um, uh, over a time period, you might think, this morning I was talking about Rob and Josh, and tonight I'm talking about cats. And then you go, oh shit. Can I get back to that thread I was talking about? The
Mm.
one on Rob and Josh. Sod the cats. I don't care about cats. So it's, I guess that's just a straight listing of files. And if we get a format for the thread,
Yeah.
the thread's persistent, isn't it?
Thread is persistent. Every thread is persistent. Yeah.
Right. So the only other thing would be how do you index multiple persistent
Yeah. Well,
threads?
there's the thread format includes a field for a summary, and so
Right.
the summary is what you would use to index them. I would imagine.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Look, I think you've answered my problem there.
Have I?
Um,
I'm not entirely sure at all.
no, well, now that we've like spoken about how you're going to use it and all that, it sort of makes sense. I can see enough of how to modify the system to at least be good for a first pass, or to be usable, put it that way. To be
Yeah.
usable for all of our stories, it may be a little clunky and have some wrinkles, but it's usable. That's the main thing. And then we
Yeah.
can focus on other aspects like, using it as a CRM, where day to day, the users of the CRM are never going to need to be immersed more than their first level, which is connect to the CRM. They never need to
Right.
be deeper than that.
Right. Or maybe they go and order a Pretty Monji. So we're talking about two parallel
Well, you
threads.
wouldn't go to Pret a Manger from inside the CRM. You'd go out
Right,
of the
because you get
CRM.
bumped out by switchboard, and that'll be a new thread,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
right.
like,
That's right.
and then you go, all right, can I get a receipt for a Pretty Monji
Yeah,
inside the
that's right.
CRM?
That's
And you
right.
go, oh, right,
So most of the
switchboard,
time,
we'll deal with it.
you're going remote, do some stuff out. New remote, do some stuff out.
Yeah,
It's very rare that you go remote and in remote and then come back out. Like that's weird.
yeah, and exactly with your SSH example,
Yeah.
you really need to be, fairly, weird to go that far down into
Yeah, I know.
encryption.
Okay,
Um,
so I think the next feature I'm building is to liven the File Explorer widget, right?
cool.
Yeah,
Now, what
that's
what is the File Explorer at the moment? What's the context? Why is it showing demo, for example, at this point?
because it's just simply the UI elements. It's got
Okay.
no backend connection.
So once it's got back-end connection, what would it be showing?
So
Um,
this here is your current branch.
mhm.
This is the name of the branch and the thread that you're in. It would show you all of the files that were available in your branch,
Right. Okay. So that
like everything.
right. So it's effectively showing the the local root. Is that an oxymoron? Um, of the repo at this point, and now you've got objects that you can click on and refer to in
Yep,
L.
yep,
You can
that's right.
go, you click on chunky sphere and say, what kind of file format is this?
Right.
So that,
Or you can say, I want to email that off to blah, blah, blah. Or I want you to count the color palette of that image.
yeah,
Right. It's
yeah,
basically freedom at that point.
yeah. Now, good. Making that live would actually be quite helpful. Now, but
Okay.
there's two. Uh, what's the uh, any one user's home directory look like? Because we've got the repo,
Their home
store
directory
agents, and
looks
threads.
exactly like this. It is a clone of HAL in their
Right.
own branch. The
But you kind of.
hierarchy,
Sorry, go ahead.
the hierarchy is that, so main is the branch that I just showed you. The actor is the user's home branch, and then the thread is a fork of their home for this particular thread, so that the thread is running in isolation, the actor is running in isolation, the actor can have many threads, the main branch can have many actors.
Right. Now, where in that home directory? So that is like,
So this would
what's
be your
this?
home directory.
Um, but if I was to want to stash stuff,
So
say I
that it
was
was
working
visible
on
between
something,
threads.
yeah, or maybe I
Yeah,
just want to retrieve it. It
you'd
feels
store it
wrong.
in here.
You do it inside the because these I don't know. It seems like these are important system uh, files,
Oh,
whereas
right.
I just
You
want
just want
a
a temporary folder.
I want like a downloads that I don't really care about.
Yeah,
So I
so
can,
we'll need to figure out how to lay that out. Like we might decide to tuck all of the HAL files under like one folder and just nest it one level deep. So it's like the system, or like it's like a / bin equivalent.
yeah,
Basically, like a
yeah, yeah,
don't touch this folder unless bad things, unless
yes,
you're in for pain, and then everything else is like, just because it's a branch doesn't mean that we can't make a home folder within that branch. So the branch represents the isolated environment. Within that, we can put a directory that was like, all your stuff goes here
yeah,
folder,
yeah.
and then
And
you can do
then
anything
inside
you
of
like.
stuff, the system doesn't care about it, but is aware of it.
Yeah, yeah, yep,
You say, right, get me that, you know, you know, recipe that I did 6 months
yeah,
ago, and then you can search that because it knows, there's no agents,
yep,
anything to do with, etc.
yeah,
Okay, good, good, good. Yeah.
yep.
All right.
Whew, that was lucky. That was lucky.
Yeah. I get the feeling that we're about 40% right on that, but without actually using it, it's really difficult to tell.
I know, right? That's really the problem. Okay, that seems enough that I can build it. Um, just to let you know my fears. Um, this whole structure is took a long time and many different iterations to get right. It
Uh,
may be that the solution to this immersion problem, the inception problem, might require a re-architecting of the way that actors are laid out. That would be a really time-consuming thing. So I hope that it doesn't come to that.
well, on our analogy, let's imagine that we're talking about that file structure inside a bin,
Yep.
and you go inside a bin and you go, I've no idea what these names. I have no
Right.
idea because I've had
Right.
no. I as a user have had no interaction with creating these
Yep.
names, and therefore I
Yep.
have no conceptual idea what the
Yep.
hell is going on here.
Yep.
You can for sure, but it's the system who needs to be able to actually use those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the description of it really is down to your top level to be able to jump back and search and index through, the description of each thread. This thread
Mm-hmm.
is when you're talking about cats.
Yep.
This one's about Rock and Josh.
Right.
And I don't want to have to, ever know what's inside bin, for
Correct.
example.
Yeah.
But I
Unless
want to
you're
be able
planning
to
on
run.
contributing to the system, you should never need to look in there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so inside of there, to some extent, the scarier the better because it
Yeah.
stops people, going in there and going,
Right.
oh, you know what? I woke up, I've had a
Yeah.
coffee, I'm going to mess with DP35
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well,
6Y.
most
Yeah,
people know not to touch files that look like that.
exactly. So I don't see any problem with that. So long as I can surface it through NL
Yeah.
to asking, right, can you find me the thread that
Yep.
did this?
Yep. 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 All right. Well, I'll make those minor changes to the remote thread interface, and then I will move on to livening up the file browser.
Yeah, cool. Very, very good. Okay, I'm on borrowed time here.
Right?
Just to before I
Aren't
get
we
knocked on the
all,
door.
buddy? Aren't we all?
Um, say again, sir?
I said, aren't we all on borrowed
Yeah,
time?
yeah. And as to your earlier question over WhatsApp, no, still haven't found a way to break it yet.
Okay, good.
Um, because
And
I'm
then,
using it. I'm using it kindly at the moment. I'm not
yeah,
trying to
maybe.
break it, but nothing's come up.
Okay. Well, let me get that file explorer up, and then I'll start to feel like I'm ready to accept a bit of punishment.
Yeah.
Um, I think after the file explorer, I think the best thing is to add this isolate protocol inside the agent so that you can call those functions anytime you want.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and then let's talk about the CRM.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been working on. I'm actually, interesting enough, been using it to kind of hone now to do a bit of a frame jack on this one. Um, I've been working on Hammer. What we could really use, aside from all of this, is to get business rules that I've not just generated. I don't know. I know about 2 months ago they sent over, 3 months ago, sent over. Here's how we use it, but they are not nearly sufficient now that I understand that definitions are everything. So
You want something more from our customers?
yeah, I'm kind of
Why?
I can make it up, right? But for
What would
example,
I ask them?
um, I just want to know about how their business operates, and that could be even just a
Well,
call.
okay. Well, why don't you ask
Uh,
me? Why don't you ask me, and then I'll try and answer it because I know a lot
all
about
right.
their business, and then
Okay.
whatever I can't answer, I'll get from them.
So for example, in the instances that they sent over, it was very flat. It's like everyone can do everything, which is
Yep.
not wildly useful because, yeah, sure, every individual may be able to do most things, but you instantiate the individual to the job that they're doing. So um, there's the kind of permissions thing. While you're dealing with a customer, you can update this, this, and this, but there are knock-on effects. So I'll give you an example. Um, and this goes way back. Remember, you give me
The example. The example. The
the
example.
example. Yeah, the example is we've got these scheduled contracts every Wednesday, every
Yep.
Tuesday. We've also got routes that we do.
Yep.
Those routes have a geographic location,
Yep.
which we don't want to change. We could if we wanted to. We've got
Right.
a bunch of trucks. And the
Right.
example that you gave is Mrs. Miggins wants to go off on holiday, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want to pick up. Would She's going off on, say, Wednesday and prefer her pickup on Monday, but just this once.
Okay.
Or the other example I think you gave
No,
was
no, no. Just I need the question. Like you're giving. I need. I got the
yeah, yeah,
example, but
right.
what's
So
what's the question?
the question is, what is this? What is the expected outcome? So, for example, here's a question: what is the structure of a route?
The structure of a route.
How do you know that? You know, if you add in someone who's just outside of a route, well, what does that mean? Do you change the route? Do you
Okay.
add a completely new route?
I'll answer knowing
There's a
that.
bunch of these that I've got in my notepad that I can send over.
Yep. Send them over. Um, I don't
But we're
exactly know how to answer what you're saying, but I can put forward information that'll help.
uh-huh. It's quite quickly. I'm saying I'm getting into CRM world now, and so I'm trying to like slush near the CRM,
Yep.
and the platform kind of helps, just doesn't get in the way, which is brilliant.
Yep.
Um, It's things like another specific question. Uh, how for one truck during, let's say, a working day is 8 hours for a truck driver, which another assertion. I don't know whether that's true or not. Um, given cosmopolitan area, uh, what distance can you go? And so adding in additional route, does that go over some kind of limit?
Those types of things are not our concern. Those things are managed by the intelligence of a human who knows the the ground. The one of the issues with this business is that there are only two, maybe three people who know the geographical region and the roads of that town well enough to be able to set the routes. And so we are not trying to replace them. We are trying to make it easier for them. They are the source of routing information.
Which
Hammer.
is which is perfect. And so, but what we'd expect is someone has tried to add in this additional pickup outside of a route, um, but still need to know the definition of the route, even though it's come from a human brain. It's like we know when it is. Then you bubble it up to duty manager, and they say, "Yeah, we're fine with that." Doesn't matter whether he's made a mistake or not. But it's like, yes, I've thought about that. Go for it. But what we don't know is someone who is not those two people makes a decision and changes something in the system that makes it impossible actually to do it.
Um, I don't think I understand it as a question strongly enough. The the routes themselves are set by a human drawing a polygon on a map. If
Mm-hmm.
if a location for a customer falls outside the polygon, the only thing we need to do is make sure that the person who does the routing is aware that that is a change, it's new, and it's out of bounds. And so they will fix either the polygon or they will refuse to service that location. But the human will make
Right.
that choice.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a perfect answer. So in that answer, you've raised the three things that I need to tighten up because I don't have enough information. They
Okay.
will, but I don't. So we need definitions and rules and guidelines. You get those three together, then everything chunks in really nicely. Uh,
Okay.
and they can be arbitrary. It's like, we toss a coin about whether you're going to get delivery or not, or we'll work through to 11 p.m. in order to pick up your delivery.
Right.
Doesn't matter, but definitions, rules, and guidelines. I don't have enough kind of grist to the mill in order to go past what I've got at the moment, which is, frankly, I asked a Dumbot, what sort of thing would you need for your entities and your rules and definitions and so on for a company that does this. I gave a description of the company and said, what would you think? And it's like, right, that's what we've been running on. But I guess this is a good sign because I'm actually working on the CRM now.
Mm-hmm.
And the platform is like, yeah, it's really good, actually. Um, but the intel about how they actually do it, as opposed to how I've assumed they do it, is the thing I need next in order to notch forward to actually, delivering something once we get the platform in the right place. And it doesn't need to be exact, absolutely. And we've got the learning loop and so on, and the update loop, which is the platform issue. But just doing a starter for 10, I think I'm wildly off because I don't know about pickups and stuff.
Okay.
And what they
I'm not
sent
sure
over
how
is
do yeah how do I help you there? Because that's not like what you're asking. We can't ask our customers that either because they don't know how to answer you there. I need more. Um,
Well, this is I guess talking about the discovery phase because I've never talked to anyone in the CRI, but
Yeah,
in Red
you
Red.
need to have effectively done a workshop with them or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
and
So I've done
it
lots
can
of
be a
those.
transcript. It can be a transcript and
Well,
so on. You know, I
either
don't really
way,
care.
you need to be able to ask me a more direct question
Yeah.
because I can't.
Well, here's a direct question.
Yeah,
I want to know a complete and correct list of what they consider the entities in the system
dude.
beyond what I've
Yeah,
invented.
no customer's gonna know that.
Yeah, but you can bubble that up and saying, okay, so forget individuals. Uh, Give me a list of all the tasks to be done because I can infer.
They're probably not gonna know that either.
Oh
Um,
man.
what's
Uh,
wrong? What's wrong with? How do you know that you've got a fault?
well, no, I'm just nervous because I've taken it from base principles and using AI to generate this sort of thing that a company that does this sort of thing
Yeah,
would
but
organize themselves. And it's like,
right, but you
no
think
idea
you've
what they're
got
trying to do.
you think you've got it wrong, but you don't know how to tell me why. Like you're basically saying I went and engineered a system using first principles, and then you want to ask the customer
No,
to respond in
no,
first principles, sort of.
to tighten up. I don't think I'm wrong. I have no evidence to say I'm right.
Okay,
Uh,
that's a better position. Shall we just can we just use your system and then hit those issues as they come? Because you're not. It's not like you're out of. You haven't
yeah,
run out of stuff, right?
no, no. I'm just getting more and more nervous because actually it's getting quite close to. Hey, have a look at this. And it's like,
Yeah.
and
All
they
right.
look at
So
this and it's like, what is a duty manager? We don't have any duty managers.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah, yeah. So they don't really have duty managers. The
don't they? Oh shit.
well the permission structure isn't that critical at first because it's not like they trust their staff. They're all in the same building. They the permissions aren't that important initially because
Yeah,
the
but
staff won't.
presumably there's some decisions which are easy and just do it, and there's some decisions that have more impact. And it's like gonna no mess with my roots because I've already put the you know the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
manifest
sure.
out to the driver, and we don't want to piss off the driver. That sort of thing.
That is not a permissions thing. That's more
Well, it's either rules or
system integrity. Like that's the
yeah, yeah.
integrity of the system. Like you're saying that there are some parts of the system that cannot be modified once certain events have occurred because
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And
right.
actually, I've got rid of permissions as part of the concept. The three things being definitions, rules, and guidelines,
Right.
and then we can infer from that everything that we need to get a system up. And then we talked yesterday about persistent storage, and it's like I'm getting quite close. It's like okay, these definitions painfully aware I simply made those up. I have no idea.
I don't really I don't think they're wrong, dude.
It might be. I don't know.
Well,
They might be wrong. They might be right.
okay,
Uh,
this doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere with this conversation. Like how do I give you something to help you?
well, here's the decision. What would I could just carry on and make it up, and
Yeah, carry on.
it's probably going to be
Just
roughly right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We got to
Or
get
we could like tighten it up beforehand so that when we
no,
give
mate.
it to them, they're not
Don't
going. We
the
follow that first
the the primary
sentence.
issue we have is how to present any system as a cohesive whole. It doesn't matter that it's a CRM. It just so happens that we want to be using the CRM as an example because the CRM is the first thing that we will try to get correct. There is absolutely no value in trying to be correct in what you're doing now because the correctness comes after we can present cohesion.
Yeah,
Cohesion
that's fair
is
enough. Well,
you are free to make a fantasy system because you can't demonstrate to me cohesion. And until you can demonstrate cohesion, um, and it's me as well. Like we both have to make changes to the system to demonstrate cohesion. Then, only
All right.
then, does it
Okay.
matter about correctness.
That's
But
fine. So I'll ignore correctness for now.
yeah, don't worry
I'll
about correctness.
continue. I'll continue with just making it up
Yeah,
in my own
yeah,
head what
yeah,
sounds reasonable. But
yeah.
in terms of cohesion, um, uh, it may change. Who knows? But really coming down to definitions, rules, guidelines, and description.
It
So
sounds like you've got the principles down solid, but you
yeah.
do not have the implementation. We need any implementation so that we can just fiddle with it and see how the
Oh, we got
how
we do. In fact, Dreamcatcher .md is based on this. I can't
where
remember.
is it?
It's I think I put it into how. I think it's there. I can't remember if I've removed permissions though. I'm sure I put it.
Did you do a merge?
No, I didn't put it in there. Well, if you come out into dream catching,
Dream
it
catching.
is there. This is the one that we managed to get the swim lanes, the flowcharts, the RDs just for free.
Okay, where am I looking?
Now, going to card game, my folder structure is terrible, which is why I'm hoping that I never have to look at another folder structure at all.
23.
Yep, try that. Yep. Dreamcatcher rules update, and then Dreamcatcher bot. Okay, so we got.
So
Yeah,
what is
I've not
this?
taken the so definitions, rules, guidelines. This remember we went through this where it was tightening up the definitions. So this was generated by CreatorBot.
Yeah,
If you
but
go back, if you go to rules,
I'm asking you for a cohesive system, and you're telling me that we sort of have that. This isn't it. That like a cohesive system. I mean, one that is interactive, like presented like this. So that's not all on you, but
oh right, oh yeah, no,
right.
sorry, no,
I
I'm
don't
thinking,
really
yeah,
care. Like it's great that you've got your prompting there, but our task is to bundle that all up in a thing that can be presented.
right, yeah, okay, yeah,
That's
we're
what we're
talking
missing.
across purposes, yeah, okay, right. So to summarize, I'll take a chill pill on just making up all the CRM stuff. The underlying prompting structure is, I think, sound. Uh, can't think
It's
of
sound
anything
enough.
bad.
It's sound enough.
Yeah.
What we're missing is the ability to use it, because
Yeah.
that will throw up a bunch more problems for us. Because that will throw up how do we implement the testing, the
Yeah.
automated testing, to make sure it always behaves correctly. These are the kinds of lessons that are of concern now.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. So I'll take a chill pill on actually building something that is probably nothing like a trucking company's CRM, but
It's very
it is
close.
going to
Don't
be.
worry about it. You're very close. Don't worry about it.
But
I would say
it can
something if
be.
you were far away.
Is there? Oh
I
yeah.
said
Yeah.
I would say something if you were far away. You are not
Uh,
far away. You are very close. The
okay.
point is, though, that this system is highly malleable. So it shouldn't matter that you're not exact,
Right.
because the value of the system is its rapidity of change, not its correctness at first release.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, that's absolutely fine. So I'll continue with the definition of the CRM. So we've got now. The
Hmm.
next piece is we've already got, well, I'm going to have to dust them off. The test creator, which takes that definition
Yep. Yep.
and then creates tests. I've still got to write that gap where it puts it into the correct format and writes that format, and then we've got test runner.
Right. Okay. So I
That
got
to run.
there's there is a bot that I am making called the test requester.
Uh-huh.
The requester is the thing that interfaces with the human. It knows about tests and it can create test controllers. Test controllers then do test runs. And so I think we may need to merge what we're doing there.
Okay. Do you have to
Um,
bring it up? Because I've
sure.
not got I've not got a knock at the door, which I'm quite surprised about. But
Oh, could be either really
oh,
bad or
or I've slept in. Either way, yeah, it's not on me.
hmm, um, a lost artifact. This one, test requested.
Okay.
So in how here.
Describe below. Be very brief. Machine-like. Yeah. Okay. All right. And that produces tests. Does it produce iterations? No, it produces templates
No,
for each
that
test.
no. This is the description. I actually did spend some time to write that.
Uh-huh. In terms of user request, new test runs, modifying existing runs, and ultimately delete the runs. If you get what's the definition of a run? Sorry to be pedantic,
Yeah,
but
you know, you're not being pedantic. That is all given under here.
okay. So definition of a run expectations.
I think run is missing. I actually did try to make this test format be logically coherent, but obviously I have failed to keep it up to date. So this is outdated.
Don't worry, I've got 23 trace bullets that are almost all outdated.
Yeah,
What's I can go in here and mess around with it.
yeah. Change anything you like, really.
Is that going to break anything that you're doing?
No, not at all.
If
I
I
have tried.
excuse me, if I update this file in Git, does that then get expressed in the next session?
No,
Or
sorry, no, it doesn't. Not yet. Not yet.
okay,
Sorry.
all right.
Coming soon.
So,
Coming soon.
well, the flip side of that, the workaround is inside of the session using files.md. Can I get at test
Yeah,
format?
absolutely. 100%.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do that. What I've found is really quite a useful hack is to write the whole system prompt in a text file, and then you go files md, change this file to this content, and it just does it every time. Brilliant, and then you're up and running.
Cool.
So it's a useful hack. It's not the prettiest, but it works.
Sweet.
Okay, let me. So what we'll do then is, so I've been using the platform. I haven't been trying to break it, but it just seems sweet, to be honest. I'll try properly to break it later, but we know where we're going with it in terms of the bits that we need. So then I moved on to the CRM and probably went down a rabbit hole trying to actually do the CRM, whereas the CRM is just an arbitrary test case.
That's right. That's right. It needs to look
And
similar to a CRM, but the test is, can we make it work?
right,
The thing that I am most afraid of, the thing that I fear, is to be able to do the remote thread interaction with this fantasy CRM, because that will prove to me that this architectural model of actors, repos, branches, all that, that works only if we can get a pseudo CRM running under that model. Until then, I'm not convinced that that's the right model. I
Yeah.
hope it is.
So we've got a pseudo CRM. The only thing that is needed is I need to put in the commands to have some kind of persistent storage.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
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 actually a
that's my
hard
thing.
thing. Yeah, that's a hard thing. So, Hammer now, you know how to add these files to your bots now.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and what I will do for you is I'll liven this up. I think it's
Mm.
about a half a day. It's sort of, everything's been built with this in mind, so it should be pretty quick. And then I'll give you the ability to have an editor, will be the next thing after that, so that you can actually edit directly to modify
Oh, that'd be that'd
files
be that'd be lovely.
rather than going through context. You'd go straight in,
That
edit,
that, that yeah, that'd be much
and then
nicer.
I'll give you some buttons that are like promptable buttons, like tidy up what I just typed,
Yeah.
spell check what
Undo.
I just typed,
Undo what I just did. Like,
undo,
oh, yeah.
yeah, 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 all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's fine. The that's actually not stopping me. That's just being nice to me. Because at
Well,
the
that's what
moment,
we want.
um,
We got to get more and more of these nice things because they save time and they increase the rate at which we can produce iterations on this pseudo CRM.
yeah, yeah,
I
grand.
do think I cannot imagine what other pieces of tooling we need other than what we've discussed these last few days. It seems sufficient. Um,
Well, have you ever, not to put too fine a point on it, have you ever known me to go through 3 calls and not being able to, you know, be grumpy about anything? It's kind of, yeah.
oh, that's a good point. Actually,
It's like
that's a good point.
I'm having a real difficulty. However, that being said, I've not done a concerted let's try and fuck with this thing session. But in the happy path,
Happy path is all good, right?
yeah, it's all good.
Mm. Okay. Well, I'll take
Right.
that as a
So
positive.
yeah, and a compliment. If I know you don't like
Yeah.
compliments, but yeah, it is. Um,
Never said
so
that. Never.
um, right, I've not had a knock at the door.
All right.
That's
Well,
making
you
me
wouldn't want to push
suspicious.
you like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Um,
think I've got
s-
everything I needed.
yeah. Cool. So tomorrow, so today I'm working on messing around with the trying to close that gap with the tests based on the CRM, and let's see what mud I throw up.
Yep, that sounds great.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet.
Damn. Yeah, it is actually.
Nearly there, buddy.
Almost there. Also, when I listen back to this recording, I think about what we're saying about the threads and remotes and so on. Not sure we got the right answer yet, but it's close enough.
No, me neither. That's why I need to see the CRM working under that model. Because
Yeah,
if we need to change it, changing it is hard. And I'd rather do that sooner rather than later. Because otherwise, we build all this stuff and then we just got to bin it,
yeah,
right? If the model underneath is wrong. So let's verify that that model works. I
yeah.
think it works. I think it may not be presented visually in the correct way, but that's a minor ill
Oh
compared
yeah,
to
we
is it
can.
logically consistent?
Logic is everything.
Yeah, and
Because
I'm not convinced that we've got it's logically sound, but it's not obvious to me how it's not.
well, yes, I'm exactly the same place. Because what we want to do is to have the internal representation of what you're doing in the human's brain to be reflected in a way that it's obvious.
Yeah, and if we
With
can, like,
place
if
like
we can,
lozenges, where it goes, color,
yeah,
who cares?
yeah, yeah,
It's
it's like a way to make Git in all its ugliness seem natural to the human and to the bots. That's really
yeah, yeah.
the art
Oh,
form, I guess.
I've got my door knock.
Okay, buddy. I'll see you later. Hey,
All right, see you tomorrow.
see you later,
Okay,
mate.
man.
Good luck.
It's not working. Hey, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
See ya.